Good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa Zazada, and I lead digital manufacturing for General Mills, and I'm a proud board member of CESMII. And I'm delighted to be here today as your host and MC for this year's 2024 CESMII annual meeting. Before we get started, I'd like to remind us all of our antitrust statement. We as participants of this meeting need to be mindful of the constraints of antitrust laws. There shall be no discussions of agreements or concerted actions that may restrain competition. And this prohibition includes the exchange of information concerning individual prices or any other competitive aspect of an individual company's operation. Each participant is obligated to speak up immediately for the purpose of preventing any discussion from falling outside of these bounds. So with that, let's get started. I was hired into my very first manufacturing job over 20 years ago by an amazing man and plant manager named John Russett. And manufacturing is an incredible place to build leadership skills. And I learned a tremendous amount from John. I learned about the importance of courage and integrity and humility. I learned about the importance of connections and accountability and hard work. And I learned that at the very heart of manufacturing are our people. And we exist as leaders to serve them. Character and competence are just as important today as they were back in my early days of manufacturing. But our world in manufacturing has continued to be more complex as our consumer and our customer needs are changing, and the needs of our employees and the wants of our employees are as well. And we are in an environment where small incremental improvements are no longer sufficient. This is a moment for reinvention, for reimagination, and for transformation. And this is where smart manufacturing comes in. But smart manufacturing demands of all of us a much broader view and broader connections than we've ever needed to require before, both within the four walls of our company and beyond. And this is why forums like what we have here today are so critical for all of us to expand our understanding, reimagine, and learn. And so I am so excited to be here with you today to have that opportunity for discussion and learning. And with that, I would like to welcome John Dyke, our CEO, to the stage.
Well, good morning, all. It's an honor to be here today and add my welcome to Lisa's. As we get started, I'd like to begin by expressing my sincere gratitude for everyone that has made it here, that's made the investment to be here in Knoxville this morning and be part of this smart manufacturing community. Looking around the room here today, I'm delighted by the depth. How's that? All right, very good. I also want to acknowledge and express our gratitude to the U.S. Department of Energy for their role both in funding much of the work we do here at CESMII and for their guiding help along the way as we work together to build a great community of smart manufacturing experts here in the United States. I'd also like to acknowledge and express our gratitude to our friends at UCLA, the operating home of CESMII, and in particular, Jim Davis, who many of you know. He's unable to join us here today for some personal reasons, but he sends his regards, and we'll see him next time, I'm sure. And last but not least, I wanted to say a big thank you to our friends here at Oak Ridge National Labs. They've been a phenomenal host. I know it's not easy to come here, but it's also not easy to host a group this size in an environment like this, and we're grateful for their partnership in helping us do this. Our theme for this event, as you've seen, is to have a national dialogue on how smart manufacturing can help the U.S. become more competitive. And throughout the day, our intent is to shine the spotlight on the work that's been done, the progress we've made, and the work that still needs to be done to accelerate the adoption of smart manufacturing here in the U.S. You'll hear about a groundswell of great organizations across this entire ecosystem that are working with us to solve the great problems of our day that believe that we can really strengthen the U.S. competitiveness through smart manufacturing. And you'll hear about the progress we're making in the areas of energy productivity and sustainability. And you'll absolutely hear about a powerful, holistic set of smart manufacturing strategies that we believe will catalyze genuine manufacturing productivity growth here in the U.S., enabling a strong middle class and empowering the national security imperatives of a vibrant growth economy. We will celebrate what we've done together with this community in our first chapter, CESMII 1.0, and what we believe we can accomplish during our next chapter, CESMII 2.0. There's still much work to be done. 5 years ago, we shared our mission here at CESMII as accelerating the democratization of smart manufacturing. What we tried to encapsulate in that statement is a very important set of ideas. That we accelerate the adoption of smart manufacturing in the US. Much of the developed world is already far ahead of us in this endeavor. And that all manufacturers have access to smart manufacturing. Most manufacturers, and particularly small, medium manufacturers, still struggle scaling their smart manufacturing strategies, a direct result of the technical debt, the cost, and the complexities of our historic approach. You've likely heard us speak about the three elements of our strategy here: ecosystem, knowledge, and technology. As we transition from CESMII 1.0 to 2.0, I'd like to briefly characterize a few important learnings that are informing our strategy looking forward to CESMII 2.0. We talk a lot about ecosystem. This is not a natural thing for us here in the US. Unlike other major manufacturing regions where there is a bit more of a historic DNA around communing, getting together, and working on important problems here. We've identified these two as super important for us here in the US. Number one, to engage and make your voice heard on how we can best serve this community. In other words, take our own personal and corporate hats off at times and put the hat on of serving and helping those around us that are in need. And number two, cultivating a culture that encourages contributing to industry initiatives aligned with the advancement and realization of manufacturing competitiveness here in the US. In the area of knowledge, we need a center of gravity, a trusted voice to create some structure, some standards and guardrails for the education community, which today resembles a little more of the Wild West than I think what we would all anticipate. Second, manufacturing leaders need inspiration and the strategic support to create a smart manufacturing mindset, including the funding, the organizational support, and the cultural transformation required to truly be data-driven. And last but not least, from a technology perspective, we believe that the time has come for us to recognize that OT data engineering has to be a priority for all of us. If we want to reduce cost and complexity, if we want to empower the next generation of use cases that will unleash massive productivity growth, if we want to equip the connected worker, if we anticipate the broad-scale adoption of AI in manufacturing adoptions, this has to become a focus and a competency for all of us. And two, a workable strategy for OT-IT convergence. We urgently need a more realistic, thoughtful approach to merge the essentials of what makes OT great and the essentials of what makes IT great. Interoperability, information model standardization, knowledge graphs, open specifications and APIs can be the catalyst to actualize this important transformation. I know you're in for a great day as we work through these important issues. We're thrilled that you're here and that so many of you have already engaged with us on this important mission. Thank you for your support.
Excited to welcome up Chris from the Department of Energy to share more about this next chapter from your point of view. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And welcome everyone here to the manufacturing demonstration facility. It's a pleasure to see both CESMII and our Oak Ridge colleagues come together to discuss smart manufacturing. So what I hope to do today is talk a little bit about our office and the mission of our office so you can understand why the Department of Energy is making a significant investment in smart manufacturing and the prospects that we envision for how this technology can be expanded much more across our mission at the department. So I'll go a little bit into some of the work that we're doing, as well as some of the other opportunities that folks in the room might have to access some of the other support mechanisms that we have available through the department. I'm the director of the Advanced Materials and Manufacturing Technologies Office, and our office in particular is the primary funder and steward of CESMII, as well as the Oak Ridge Manufacturing Demonstration Facility here. So this idea of bringing these two consortia is the first time I think they've come together in this fashion is I think a really unique opportunity. We were talking about it yesterday with Haresh and the whole panel. That the work that's gone on through CESMII has been very foundational in thinking of how we might advance smart manufacturing technologies, and the work that's going on here at Oak Ridge and deploying those technologies for things like additive manufacturing are really helping us think through how we can transform manufacturing for energy. So I just wanted to set the stage first by how we think of why manufacturing is important to the energy sector and why we think energy is important to manufacturing. When we look at this idea of industrial competitiveness and what the economic opportunity is for our country in energy, it's pretty significant. If we can make products better, we can play a bigger role in the global market for clean energy or energy technologies in general. And this is just looking at, when we look at the energy transition to 2050, what the market opportunity is for clean energy technologies and where the U.S. right now is compared to other countries. So there's a major opportunity in terms of a dollar amount. And right now, the U.S. doesn't really account for a large fraction of those exports of those technologies. So as we start thinking of what the economic opportunity is for improving the way we do manufacturing through smart manufacturing, it's a way that we can think of quantifying what the impact is on our overall economy. But there's also another side of manufacturing for energy, and that's thinking of our supply chain. And regardless of which side of the aisle you're on, this has been well recognized. We come out of COVID and all of these challenges that we've had in our supply chains. A lot of it is driven by, where are we getting these materials? Where are we getting these technologies? And because of the same kind of pivot of the data that you saw on the previous slide, a lot of these aren't made here in the U.S., whether they are the critical minerals that are part of our clean energy technologies, or if they are the energy products of the future. We have to think about how we make those here in the United States, and we do that competitively. And manufacturing and innovative manufacturing technologies like smart manufacturing are going to be really important for us to try and really reshore these supply chains here in the United States. And the last thing to set the stage on the national landscape is thinking through this industrial base that we have on the energy side and who really is participating in developing those supply chains that are important for the energy transition. This shows a map of what you would consider the OEMs of these technologies, the technologies that are part of buildings and renewable energy and other aspects, batteries and electric vehicles that are part of our U.S. industrial base. And behind this and underneath this, there's a lot of other tiers of suppliers that we can think of in the broader energy industrial base. Many of the folks here in this room are participants in that overall ecosystem. We're trying to better understand that at the Department of Energy. This is something that I think other sectors have understood much better. But as we start thinking of our supply chain health and resiliency, looking at the energy industrial base and understanding better is very important. There's been major investments across the department in this administration through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, Inflation Reduction Act, and CHIPS and Science Act, in really transforming how we look at the industrial base. And that is going to bring new entrants into this world. And the question came up yesterday during the panel of what is the role of smart manufacturing in that? And I think it can play a major role. Right now, we've supercharged investment to build new facilities. How do we make them competitive in the long run here in the United States? And we think that smart manufacturing will play a major role in that. So at the Department of Energy, we're really at that nexus in our office between this future energy system that we might imagine, this all of the above approach to energy, that the future energy mix will rely on renewable energy. It will rely on nuclear energy, potentially fusion in the long run, hopefully. And thinking through how do we deliver not just on that those new technologies that will be deployed for our energy mix, but how do we change the way that we're doing manufacturing today so that we can be competitive in this broader landscape? So that's really going to be through innovation, what we think. It's not, in order for us to have a sustainable and resilient manufacturing base, it has to be one that's innovative and does things that will leapfrog over our competitors. So at the Department of Energy, we really look at how cross-cutting technologies like smart manufacturing play a role in advancing multiple different sectors. That could be how we think of how energy is generated to how it's used. So we have had some conversations, and I know there's automotive companies here in the audience. How can we advance manufacturing so we can produce electric vehicles better? So these are all things that we think about at the department, and we're trying to really dig in on the industrial competitiveness aspect of what we're doing at the department. We participate in and lead a lot of national level thinking in strategy and encourage, and I know that folks here in the room have participated in several of these efforts. I think one great aspect of the Department of Energy is that we're very outward with our strategy in how we want to solve this major challenge in delivering our future energy mix. And we put out these national reports in collaboration with our interagency colleagues, but also with folks here in Manufacturing USA at CESMII. And in smart manufacturing in particular, we've worked, Sudarshan-led engagements with the national academies to think of how we might do this. And we have a coming strategy that will reflect how we think of smart manufacturing and delivering on many of the challenges that I've mentioned so far. But we work in a variety of other areas that I encourage you, for those of you that might be in these other sectors, to dig into. We have a lot of ones that are coming out soon. And a great way to engage in this, whether it be in participating in workshops that might be hosted by us or by our partners, like at Oak Ridge or at the National Academies, will be to respond to comments. So the department releases these strategies for public comment, and it's a great opportunity for the community to actually tell us what they think on how we're thinking about this problem. One in particular I thought I'd call out, and this is, I think it was a great effort where our office was a part of the leadership of this report, was a report on the National Strategy for Advanced Manufacturing. If you haven't taken a look at this, this was released, I think, at the end of 2022, and was done through the NSTC OSDP Subcommittee for Advanced Manufacturing. And they call out a variety of different technologies, and I just highlight some of the excerpts related to smart manufacturing, AI in manufacturing. I think a lot of this has also been helpful in thinking of how the new institute is getting stood up in AI for manufacturing, as well as some of how the work that's going on here at CESMII, as well as our other sister institutes are working in this area. So I encourage you to take a look at that. And I wanted to get into what are some of the opportunities aside from when we think of the resilient supply chains and this broader economic opportunity behind manufacturing that we can realize through smart manufacturing. There's, of course, the opportunities in industrial decarbonization, and I think CESMII's made some great strides in that in the CESMII 1.0. And the industrial decarbonization roadmap, and there's several other strategies that are following from this, really looks at how can we transform the industrial sector. Where are those difficult to abate aspects of the industrial sector, like steel and concrete, that are really the big consumers of greenhouse gas emissions. And smart manufacturing does play a major role in that. This is part of the range of solutions or pathways of solutions that are available to address this major challenge. There are also opportunities as we thinking of how we might deliver new technologies. There was a series of reports that the Department of Energy led that look at specific sectors and what are the pathways to actual deployment of these technologies across the energy landscape here in the United States. And they focus on a couple of different areas. And the thing to take away from this is that if you dig into each of these, you'll find that there's opportunities for smart manufacturing to impact how we think of nuclear energy and delivering on products for nuclear energy, reducing the lead time to actually deliver nuclear systems. Some of that work has gone on here at Oak Ridge. Also thinking of our work in energy storage and how we might need to deliver on next generation batteries or grid scale storage. We have some work that our teams led in that area, as well as these other areas that are part of this mix. So I encourage you to take a look at this. These reports go a bit into not only the adoption barriers, but also some of the needs on the innovation side. So I just wanted to highlight just a couple of initiatives and talk a bit about how CESMII fits in with what we're thinking about in smart manufacturing in our office and then more broadly across the department. I think the office has made an investment very early on in smart manufacturing, and I think it's paying off dividends now to where CESMII 2.0 has kicked off. That you're able to now play a major role in actually delivering these clean energy technologies. If we had just started now, we wouldn't be ready for that. So I think this the early investment from our office in this area was very visionary in my view. So smart manufacturing and is really closely tied to our work in cybersecurity, and I know that there's some folks here from CESMII. So thinking together about how we can not only develop our smart manufacturing technologies of the future, but also that we develop them with cybersecurity in mind. And then lastly, of course, the manufacturing demonstration facility here at Oak Ridge. These are all investments that some of them a decade old, some of them last 5 years, that now together I think are giving the Department of Energy and our stakeholders this unique capability to not only bring together private partners, but also the capabilities of our national labs to help augment the innovation needed in these different areas. So we have these consortia, and one of the big ideas of trying to bring together these communities is to have you all meet, to find, develop these collisions where you can develop ideas and look for these opportunities to work together on some of the problems that we have that I've mentioned. But we also have a range of other opportunities that in our office, for us, we like to think of a Swiss Army knife of solutions, right? We want to have the consortia for us are a big anchor where we can get a lot of innovation through the pipeline and deployed. But we also develop complementary programming where we want to augment the work that you're doing in other ways. So we have a smart manufacturing RD&D program where we'll do targeted solicitations to advance smart manufacturing technologies, and this is meant to support targeted teams of industry, university, national labs to actually advance a particular technology. So this is a great opportunity for you to partner with us to work on something specifically. So these are typically released through funding opportunity announcements. We had 2 this year that got into smart manufacturing topics. One looking at a range of topics from transportation and electric vehicle manufacturing to how we might make different kinds of circularity-focused innovations for smart manufacturing. We also had another one that got into batteries and how we might bring smart manufacturing to advance battery manufacturing here in the United States. So this is a great program for those of you that are looking for more targeted kinds of opportunities outside of the Institute to do focused R&D. We also support small businesses and entrepreneurs in this area. So there might be smaller companies here that are either part of the membership, or you might be a faculty member that might be looking to start a company with a grad student or yourself. So we support entrepreneurship programs, the LEAP program, the Lab Embedded Entrepreneurship Program. A node, one of which is here at Oak Ridge National Lab, is a really interesting program where we'll pay for a innovator or for a person that's starting a company to actually embed their lab or embed their company here at the National Lab. So here at Oak Ridge, the node's called Innovation Crossroads. Think of it as a tech incubator where you're accessing the kinds of facilities that you might see for those of you that have already went on the tour. So this is a great opportunity for you to grow your business, to get training on business development, but also to work together with the National Lab to actually develop a technology and path that to address some of the energy challenges that we have for the future. So I encourage you to take a look at that. We also have SBIR, STTR programs. Like many other offices across the DoD, we invest in small business work. So in these cases, we partner with small business and try to form teams to actually address these challenges. And many of these for us, because we're mission driven, are topic driven. So encourage kind of discussions between the folks here in this room as well as our staff at our office to actually talk about what you're doing so that we can develop topics that are capitalizing on the work that's going on here at CESMII, and that we can potentially pour more gasoline on that fire or more juice into the battery. So those are, I think, great opportunities to do that. We could talk a bit about kind of when the cycle is for those kinds of opportunities. The last one I thought I'd highlight is the HPC for Manufacturing program. This is a technical assistance program where we actually provide support where a company can work together with the National Lab to leverage the supercomputer. We were all in front of the supercomputer last night having some nice beverages. And this is a great opportunity for you to access those capabilities, not only to advance your manufacturing processes, but also develop software capabilities that might help augment other manufacturers. So if you're a software company and there's an opportunity to leverage the high performance compute here that might help a manufacturer get further down the road to actually develop something, these are something to think about. So in wrapping up, I thought I'd just say that it's great to be here. This is our team here. So Hui Zhen leads the Next Generation Materials and Processes program. Sudarshan is the main point of contact here for CESMII, and this is the whole range of folks that you can talk to actually talk through some of the ideas that we're talking about. If you have an idea that you could take a technology through and that we can support in a different way, encourage the conversation. So we'll be here for the rest of the day and look forward to further conversations. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Thank you, Chris. That was an awesome overview of the work that your team is doing, and I appreciate the understanding of how this connects with CESMII, as well as the challenge for all of us of how we can further engage. Perfect. I am excited to welcome up Bill Peter, our wonderful host here at Oak Ridge. Please, we appreciate your thoughts as well. Let me move forward here. Perfect.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Very glad to see everybody still here. When John asked me if we would host the CESMII annual meeting, that was a no-brainer. This is a very, very important topic to us. As you heard yesterday from Ryan being part of the panel or leading the panel, it is one of our key strategic activities here at Oak Ridge National Laboratory. And so very excited to see everybody talking about this important topic. I'm going to go through just a couple minutes here, talk a little bit, since you're at Oak Ridge. What is Oak Ridge? It is a Department of Energy laboratory. We have one of the broadest portfolios. We have a tremendous amount of activities, both in the fundamental research going all the way to the applied. So really looking at how we translate fundamental new ideas and take that to practice and to application. What I've got representing here on the screen is the 8 different research directorates that are here at Oak Ridge. We do work in biology, fusion and fission, looking at a lot of the work in nuclear energy, isotope production, national security, computing, neutrons, as well as materials and chemical processes. I'm located in the clean energy directorate, where we really take the applied activities and see how we can better implement new solutions in areas like buildings, transportation, grid, and of course into manufacturing. There's about 7,000 different people here at Oak Ridge, staff members at Oak Ridge. They're all thinking about energy on a daily basis. And it is this diversity that I believe creates new solutions for the nation and how we can solve some of today's biggest energy problems, as well as national security problems. One of the things, and I hope through the tour you're able to capture here at Oak Ridge, especially at our manufacturing demonstration facility that's supported by the Advanced Materials and Manufacturing Technology Office, is the concept in looking at the full digital thread as we go through the entire process, from everything from modeling, simulation, how we instrument our systems as we move forward, to thinking about design and optimization. So what that does is we start thinking about the process development for the manufacturing processes themselves, how we get these systems to talk together as we're doing it and make real-time changes in between different processes, different machines, how we pull that data and then do analysis and data analytics on that information, and how we can tie that into testing and characterization to better be able to show the performance of the components as we're going through and fabricating them, and create almost a born qualified type scenario as we are fabricating components. We do this in areas like additive manufacturing, composites, machining. We're also doing this in areas like carbon fiber production, which is another sister facility to this one that's on the other side of the campus and can create 25 tons worth of carbon fiber in a given year, as well as what we do in our energy storage and battery work today. So really thinking through this whole concept, it is something we're thinking through every single one of our projects. How should we be going through and administrating smart manufacturing? One of the things I want to make sure that everybody leaves, you've seen a lot of capability. One of the things AMTO has enabled or supports us to do is every year we actually have funds that come down here and wait for you, for industry to come in, look at what we're doing and say, how can I go through, use this technology and create benefit from? We create a program called the Technical Collaborations Program or Industry Collaborations Program. This has been a fantastic program. We've had over 280 collaborations through this with industry. It starts off as a 40K seed project. That's funds here at the laboratory with 40K of in-kind contribution from the company. No money changes hands. It's essentially taking the work that you're doing and coupling it with the laboratory and work we could be doing with you. AMTO, there's a short template we help you fill out. And AMTO reviews these templates every 2 weeks. So we're trying to go at the speed of industry and be able to see how quickly we can go through and start to go through this go through a collaboration together. Anyways, I want to make sure that it's known that this is an opportunity for you, and please let me know if you've got interest in it. Lastly, and I'll just take a second for this, is our partnership with CESMII. So if you went on the tour, you're able to see a demonstration that we're doing where we're pulling data from 3 different machines and going through and using the SM core, transmitting that data to SM core. This is just a start for us in collaborating between CESMII and Oak Ridge. We're looking to see how can we partner with industry between CESMII and Oak Ridge. I think bringing the institute together with a key national laboratory is a great opportunity for us to work with you and see what opportunities we have going forward. I'll end there. I appreciate everybody for coming to Oak Ridge. If you do get a chance, thank our administrative staff, Kayla Hall and Christy Kennedy for all their work working with Jillian and the rest of John's team to put this together, but really appreciate everybody's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Wonderful. All right, we are now going to transition over and take a look back and celebrate and reflect on where we've come from with CESMII 1.0. So I'm excited to welcome Ken Creasy to the stage, please. Thanks, Ken.
Okay, so first CESMII meeting was 2018 for me. It was on the UCLA campus, a fraction of the number of people here. Jim Wetzel, you were the head of CESMII at the time, and I remember that meeting and just being amazed at the work that was going on within CESMII. Now that said, we have an opportunity to look and see what happens over the last 5 years, 6 years. So it takes a village. I am your village spokesman, not village idiot up here. So first of all, Department of Energy. Department of Energy was the organization that had the idea of a smart manufacturing institute focusing on bringing intelligence to save the US economy money and promote productivity. They've been our originator, our sponsor, our thought partners, our program prodders at times, and it's led to the formation and growth of CESMII. And recently, the renewal into CESMII 2.0. There's been over 6 projects performed, research projects performed within CESMII during this time, which leveraged comes out to over $100 million worth of research. So an impressive amount of research over the past 6 years or so. Next, the most humble group of people is the CESMII staff. So if you're CESMII staff, I'm going to put you on the spot, stand up. just publicly thank you, because you are often behind the scenes. In the past 6 years, you've rolled out smart manufacturing architecture, technologies, workshops. You've developed trainings for multiple stakeholders from the shop floor all the way up to a smart manufacturing roadmap professional certification. You've been tasked with scaling and deploying smart manufacturing, and now you're pivoting into making that, revving it up, amping it up, putting it on full adrenaline for CESMII 2.0. Could not have been done without UCLA. Working with the DOE and CESMII, they started, hosted, and helped facilitate CESMII's initiation and growth. And you can see all of the departments that went in there. So they were responsible for a great deal of the structural and process integrity, especially early on. Plus, a lot of the projects that you'll see coming forward are research projects that are written for external grants along the way, which has only benefited CESMII and the breadth of which CESMII reaches. To the governance board. The governance board provides guidance and direction to CESMII, and you can see there's a great cross-section of people here, and it's been truly an honor to serve as the board chair for the last few years. This board represents over 200 member companies and organizations. And just a shout out to the executive committee, Catherine Callahan and Mark Besser serve with me, John Dyke, and Jim Davis from UCLA. Great collaboration, great insights. And I will tell you, just a thank you to the CESMII board. I get insights from you every time we interact, and really appreciate that. To the Smart Manufacturing Executive Council, they partnered with CESMII to produce the Future of the American Economy publication a little while back. They've joined forces with CESMII to promote digital transformation and adoption. They partnered with CESMII to develop educational resources in particular, and really put an emphasis on promoting educational resources so the workforce of the future is ready now. And then finally, just a thank you to the Smart Manufacturing Advisory Board. These are thought leaders. They drive adoption of smart manufacturing in the US. They help shape strategies, and they're promoting critical partnerships with CESMII. So you look back here, there's over 100 people who have contributed here that are just faces on slides. There are hundreds more members of different companies who have helped contribute to the growth and the output of tremendous technologies through CESMII. So with that, thank you.
Thanks. All right, please welcome up our CESMII team to share a little bit about the work that has happened. I'll let you all introduce yourselves.
So, well, Ken had an idea, and I don't think we're going to follow up on that, which was that the three of us would get up on stage and do tap dancing, which we're not going to do. So,
Yeah, please don't.
so thank you, Ken, for setting the stage here. So I'm going to talk about the technology side of things. My colleague here, Conrad, is going to talk about education and workforce, and then Howard is going to take on some of the operating and ecosystem accomplishments. So I'd like to start with this slide because Ken said that we've been in CESMII 1.0 was 6 years ago when it was formed. The strategy for the institute and how we would operate and how we would execute on our mission was defined by the roadmap, which was developed by over 100 people that represented academia, industry, government, and we came together and had this roadmap. So this has been the driving force on what we've been doing. And then we've also made sure that everything that we do along the lines are, anyway, what was that? That we have metrics that are associated with the work that we do so that we can measure our success based on that. the set of metrics. We've completed about 60 projects over the course of the last 6 years. And again, these are the partners that we worked with. They are industry, academia, consultants, technology providers, systems integrators. And we've got a fantastic group of outcomes out of this project. So you can see there are 56 members that are involved in these projects. We had representation from 16 different states across the nation. As I said, 60 projects, and there were 15 industry verticals that we addressed as part of the use cases that we picked in this thing. The idea was that we're not focused just on one industry vertical or one size of manufacturer. We've actually cut across all of them as a result of that. One of the things that I like to do is just take a cross-section of some of the projects that we've done. These are not all 60 projects that we've done, but just to give you an idea of when we talked about the roadmap, we talked about the building blocks of smart manufacturing. So if you look at the center side of this slide, it talks about the steps that you take in order to develop a smart manufacturing solution. You start with the sensing part, get the data. Important step is around the contextualization of that data. And then you start doing things like analytics and predictive modeling and then bring it back around so that you can control the process to get the benefits of smart manufacturing. So keep that picture in mind. And what you see here are some example projects of how we've taken this bottom left quadrant and actually have some projects that are focused on the sensing side of things. On the top left is actually a centerpiece of that is the smart manufacturing platform, which we'll be talking about in detail later on as well. But there are some examples there as to how we go from something that's just descriptive to diagnostic in terms of getting the information in your hands so that you can make some smart decisions. Then on the top right is all about getting the insights from analytics and modeling, and there are some examples there. And then on the bottom right is how we bring everything back together to actually control the process. So we have a cross-section of projects that addresses that entire landscape. And then we've hit, these are some examples of the industries that we've picked in those projects. So again, you can see this is not all 15, but it's a cross-section of those industries. The other side of things is the platform technologies are very central. So when we talk about CESMII 2.0, we have to take that approach of saying what will make it easier for manufacturers to adopt these technologies, do it rapidly, do it at low cost, right? That's where the platform comes in. So since 2018, at that point, it was all PowerPoints. Now this is actually working, and you'll see some demonstrations later on today, and you have some insights from yesterday's sessions as well. So just keep that in mind that this is something that we've now got working. Of course, there are some kinks to be worked out, but this is now operating, and we've actually demonstrated the idea. The thing that's important here is that we have 3 layers here. You have the edge, where all the data is coming in. You have the cloud-hosted core, which is provided by one of our great partners. And then you have interoperable applications that are sitting on top. All of this has been demonstrated, so it's working, right? On the right-hand side is the marketplace. So you can see there are 22 smart apps and tools available. There are project outcomes that have been listed on the marketplace, 22 of them. And there are 161 SM profiles that are listed there. And we have a set of tools like the SM Profile Designer that allows you to create more profiles, and a standards-based information model that's actually the core, is the glue that holds everything together. And you'll hear more about that from Jonathan and his team doing that. So there's a section of this that actually relates to how we make this a effective ecosystem for technology providers and for manufacturers. And at this point, I just want to acknowledge the teams that have been working on the technology side of things. So, Miguel, Raminder, John Lee, Prakashan, Jonathan, Olivia, David. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody, but thank you again for making this happen. So with that.
Thank you. Here we'll play musical chairs here. So now, how do we get all this knowledge out into the ecosystem? Well, we're building all these technologies and tools and curricula. We're expanding the catalog of resources available, not only on the technology side, but on the education side. And we're doing this, but to get it out there, we realize that manufacturers are on a journey, and we need to support them in that journey with an ecosystem, right? We keep using that word, but ecosystem here in this context means the consultants, the coaches that are supporting them, the educators and trainers, and the system integrators that all need to absorb all these skills and then in part pass them on to the manufacturers. So let's see some examples of how we're doing that. So we're creating guidance on smart manufacturing. What do the skills look like, the competencies needed for different job roles? That's informing the resources and tools that we're developing, including hardware and software tools for education. And that's helping expand the catalog of education programs that now offer smart manufacturing education. In fact, our catalog is around 14 now and keeps increasing that we've influenced. And this is one of the methods that we're influencing hundreds of students around the nation. And in fact, between our formal and informal programs, we've had over 6,000 students and workers participating in different kinds of education initiatives. Another example is, right, the coaches, the consultants that are supporting manufacturers. We created resources like the acceleration roadmap framework, that tool, and then we recruited partners like Rensselaer, NextGen Group to help us develop a certification program. And now we have over 40 consultants and coaches that have been certified to help, and with a focus on small and medium manufacturers, right? So we're going after the gaps and helping accelerate this. And we keep increasing that group about 15, 20 every quarter. And then on the instructor side, we've created we've built on top of a framework of micro-credentials, industry-vetted micro-credentials. And we're just getting started on these initiatives, and we need more of this ecosystem to support and rally behind it. But I'm very proud of so far of what we've done with micro-credentials, adding smart manufacturing skills on top of that. We will continue doing more of that work, but that's informing the trainer programs. We're aligning the workforce training programs to those credentials, and we keep increasing the educator ecosystem that is ready to teach these skills. We're just getting started, but we already have over 20 campuses and 25 instructors that have been trained through these programs. And so how are these micro-credentials working? We're going to talk more about that this afternoon, but I do want to make sure you see that this is a scaling strategy, that micro-credentials are influencing CTE programs that start at high school. They're influencing 2-year and 4-year degree programs that are starting to give a big percent of their credits can be earned through micro-credentials. We have examples of this in Indiana, Wisconsin, Florida, Michigan. So this is the foundation that's getting laid for a national strategy around micro-credentials and accelerating the pathways to getting these new skills into the workforce. So very excited about that. And now I'm going to hand it over to Howard.
Well, good morning. The third leg of the CESMII stool, so to speak, is the ecosystem. And it's a very important leg because CESMII, as a consortium, we collaborate with our members to do the work of the Institute. So CESMII, like smart manufacturing, is very much a full contact sport. So we couldn't do the work without our members. So we have over 200 members, which is twice as much as we had when we first joined UCLA in 2018. So we're excited about the growth. Unlike me, I'm paid to be part of CESMII. These people pay us to be part to join CESMII. So these are full-paying members. We're excited to have them on board. They represent the whole manufacturing ecosystem, from the manufacturers to the vendors to the system integrators and academia. So it's the whole ecosystem is represented here. So we thank them for that. But to engage our members, we need to have multiple contact points because they go across multiple industries, multiple size companies, multiple geographies. So we have kind of a diverse way to do that. First and foremost are the Smart Manufacturing Innovation Centers, or SMICs. So in CESMII 1.0, we grew them from 4 to 7. In addition, we had 10 satellites under them to support them. But you can go to any manufacturing innovation center. You can see a demonstration of the platform. You can get demonstrations of how to use smart manufacturing to solve your problems, which is important for SMMs. And you can also take our CESMII endorsed education courses or the roadmap assessment. So basically whatever you can do at CESMII headquarters, you can do at the innovation centers. We also have affinity groups, which are member-defined working groups that we support to address problems that members want to address with smart manufacturing. We're doing some retooling there as we speak. And we also important that we engage in a matrix-like format with the manufacturing extension partnerships. So this is a NIST-funded program. So each of the 50 states plus Puerto Rico have an MEP, at least one MEP center. And it's a nice synergistic relationship with CESMII. So CESMII needs to engage SMMs, but we know there's over hundreds of thousands of SMMs in the country. So CESMII has great smart manufacturing content, but we need a one-to-many system to engage them. The MEPs have great relationship with SMMs, but could use some of the smart manufacturing content that we have to do their important consulting work. So it's a natural 1 + 1 = 3 kind of synergy to engage SMMs and meet them where they're at and bring them up the adoption curve. So to that end, we held a very popular, first of its kind, workshop for MEPs so we can hear their needs. They could see the tools, the resources CESMII can provide, and as well attended. Almost all the MEPs are there with 46. Great feedback. We're doing more of this next year. All the MPs wanted to have a part 2 and a part 3 of this, so we're excited about this. It's a great two-way dialogue, and it's a great leveraging of the government dollars. We're funded by DOE, MEPs are funded by NIST, so it's great leveraging of cross-departmental government dollars. But we feel the ecosystem has moved the needle in CESMII 1.0. The SMICs have almost 90 manufacturing-like assets connected to the platform. So that these go from bioreactors to pulp and paper printers, to CNC machines that SMNs would use and everything in between, connect to the platform so you can see the platform live and touch and feel it as you would in a factory. They held a lot of outreach events. We did a lot of energy efficiency recommendations. We contributed to the CESMII ecosystem's efforts on smart manufacturing assessments, helping upskill workers. So the SMIC's part of the conduits of assessments and education. So out of our SMICs, all of them are fixed facilities, with the exception of one, ThinkIQ. So ThinkIQ took our act on the road, so to speak. We wanted to literally meet SMMs where they're at. So SMMs are, they have limited travel budget. They're very focused on running their business. They don't have time to come to great events like this or fly across the country. So we took the SMIC on the road, met them where they're at, partnered with MEPs, and we held over about eight road shows. Great events, great attendees, and we're doing a part 2 this year, so we're going to do a rinse and repeat and grow this effort and literally meet SMMs where they're at. So with that, I just want to thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Mark, I'd like to welcome you up. We all know that strategic partners have also played a really important role in CESMII 1.0, and Mark's going to tell us a little bit about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. I got to say, I feel a little bit like I won the lottery. Usually when I get invited to speak at a conference, I somehow manage to draw that 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon time slot, or I'm the slot right before we move to happy hour. So I get you all while you're still caffeinated and kind of plugged in, which is awesome. For those who haven't met me yet, Mark Besser. I run digital manufacturing for Symphony AI. I've been with CESMII on this journey since it launched. So as you heard from Ken, kind of right at the very beginning. I sit on the advisory board, and I'm also part of the executive committee. And Symphony, in its prior form, Savagent, was actually the first national member of CESMII. So with that, I get the privilege of introducing and talking to you about some of the strategic relationships and partnerships. When your mission is to raise the capabilities of all U.S. manufacturing, that's a pretty heavy lift. And that's pretty tough to accomplish as one organization. You've heard the village. You need a tribe. You need an ecosystem. You need the partners. You need the relationships. That's the surrounding support that you need to actually get out to the mass. And I think CESMII's been masterful at building those relationships. So what are those? What's that network look like? What's kind of the influence that the partners bring and the contributions? There's way more than we can actually put on one slide, but I'm going to kind of try and cover a few different categories. Academia, that's really the incubation, the research, the R&D, and the education of the workforce that's coming behind the rest of us, right? That's the next wave. We've got the government and the institutes. They're the bridge to public and private relationships. The research, the innovation centers, the dollars to get these programs actually started and launched. And the foundation for complementary institutes that are tackling other aspects of this same manufacturing challenge. We've got the research and advisory groups, the market research, the analysis, the benchmarking, thought leadership and publication. We've got industry and trade groups, standards, best practices, networking, collaboration, sharing of resources, and on the international front, really expanding our vision globally, not just here in the US. We've got the software companies and the solution providers bringing the next wave of capabilities, developing the new technologies, the new advancements, advanced insights, analytics. And we've got the manufacturers. You guys are the confirmation of the challenges that are actually happening out there in the marketplace and in the industry. And importantly, the validation of the mission and the progress that we're actually making. So again, many more groups can't get to all of them in one sitting. Tons of contributions, but I think you guys get the picture. So kind of closing. This partner network is the amplification that we actually need to reach out to actually get to the mass, right? We can't do it by ourselves. We can't do it alone. It's the voice, it's the strategy, it's the progress, it's the additional lifeline that we get to all the small and medium, mid-sized manufacturers out there. This amplification is critical to the success of the program. And to CESMII. And I thank all of you for your relationships and the contributions that you're all making to the success of this program. Thank you.
And finally, last but not least, as we're reflecting on CESMII 1.0, Kathy Callahan is going to share with us a bit about engaging industry. Welcome.
Thanks, Lisa. Hi, everybody. So I get the best job, Mark, like the time period he fell into. I get to help us acknowledge and celebrate all the accomplishments or a lot of the wins that we've had over the last year. So we're going to start with, and I have a clicker. Right. There we go. I guess I should introduce myself. So I'm Kathy Cahalan. I sit on the board. I'm also part of the executive committee. I lead the team at Bennett. And we've been part of the CESMII organization for just over 4 years now. So really happy to support the initiatives. As I said, I'm going to be talking about engaging industry, and we're going to start out with membership. So we have added 33 new members this year, so for a total of 206. I don't have a lot of time, but are some of those new members here? Hands up. Yay, welcome. Happy to have you part of the team. What I really like about what we're seeing on this slide is the diversity of our membership. So we have manufacturers, technology providers, consultants, SIs, the MEPs, associations, and academia. Our outreach, and I want to say that historically institutes aren't really well known around the industry specifically, and I want to give a shout out specifically to Jillian for everything that she's done to drive awareness for CESMII. So we have, yes. So we have increased the LinkedIn followers. I believe we're crossing the 2,400 mark now. And the hosted events, I love this event, all CESMII specific. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I think it's been a fantastic couple days. I want to highlight the other initiative, which is the manufacturing mindset. Who has sat in and listened to some of these podcasts? Aren't they fantastic? So in 17 episodes, they've had over 60 guests. So how many hands? Raise a hands if you've been a guest on the show. Wonderful. So what they're driving, and it's visibility, the YouTube, the LinkedIn feeds, just encourage everybody to register, listen in. There's good content. Obviously, we have industry experts as the guests, and it's a great initiative. This is a collage of industry events. So whether it's been shows we've gone to, we talked about the roadshow just recently. This highlights, I believe, some of the manufacturing mindset in different events. If you look, you might find yourself somewhere on this screen. I look forward to next year that this screen is maybe double, not quite. So round of applause for everything that's been going on. We need to get moving. And with regards to the Manufacturing Executive Council, I want to pull a quote out. In an article, August 23, the Smart Manufacturing Executive Council, a vision to democratize digital transformation, John Dyke said, if we're going to dramatically impact the productivity curve, traditional behaviors, and the business model, technology architectures must make way for new ones. So this collective group of industry experts were put together through the initiative of both CESMII and SME to put this council together. And they are working to develop the practical guidance and policy recommendations to help U.S. manufacturers become more competitive. If you aren't following them, pull out your phones. I'll go to the next slide. There is a QR code. Learn more about the initiative and what they're driving. You are going to hear a little bit more from them a little bit later. They're going to be talking about a playbook that they're putting together. But you can QR code, join, be a participant, help with the initiative. And then finally, I just wanted to say, you're here because you believe in the initiative and support of what CESMII represents and what they're trying to do. So if you aren't following us, click, follow, share, let others know, and let's get the word out about all the good work that the team and everyone here is doing. Thank you.
All right. That was awesome. Can we give up one more round of applause for the amazing work that happened as a part of CESMII 1.0? It's amazing to see the number of people that have come together and contributed in advancing this work and the amount that has been achieved. And now we're turning our eye to the future. And I welcome John back up to talk a little bit about CESMII 2.0. Thanks, John.
It is such an honor and a privilege to be together here with you all, because this is where we kind of get inspired. This is where we recognize the folks, the communities, the strategies that are going to be driving the work that we do here for the next 5 years. It was alluded to before, Chris Saldana shared as well. We have, and you've probably seen this in the news, we've been renewed funding-wise for the next 5 years here at CESMII, which is a vote of confidence in the work that we've done in the past, which we've seen a brief flyby for, but also based on a very specific strategy for how we engage and move forward and drive smart manufacturing forward according to the issues and the strategies that are put before us by the federal government. You've seen a little bit about what we've done. I would characterize CESMII 1.0 as being very sort of foundational in forming the strategies, convening the group, the community, and aligning around the knowledge and the technology strategies that are essential for us to move forward as a manufacturing nation. So you see a short list of some of those things that we've been able to successfully bring forward. We've heard and received great affirmation from the marketplace, from you all around these things. But the next step forward is truly about scale and deploy. This is a word you will continue to hear from us. We've built this foundation. How do we now take the innovation, the research, the work that we've done, and really turn it into something powerful that manufacturers, that the implementers, that the consulting community, that the technology providers, that this community can actually drive forward at scale. So this is my privilege just to provide a brief snapshot of sort of this three-legged stool that represents our strategy going forward. The funding from the Department of Energy is a very specific set of RFPs, is going to be actualized through a very specific set of RFPs. And you'll hear more about that later this morning and this afternoon from Haresh and others here on the team. But you see the list of focus areas here that will drive a significant investment forward and allow us to engage with you in a very collaborative way across a broad community. The second of these three pillars is around grant-funded R&D. There are a diversified set of agencies and funding sources that have either come to us and said, CESMII, can you engage with us in this way to help solve this problem for this community, or that we've pursued as part of a broader public activity and that we are a part of and that are now funding the team and the strategies and the work that we do in the industry. And then last but not least, the fact that this community is here, the fact that you're supporting us from a membership perspective, the fact that you are engaging with us around using the things that we're creating drives our sustainability as well. I use the word sustainability in the sense that this is our operational lifeblood. This is the opportunity for us to become self-sustaining as we think about the life of the Institute. We love the funding that we get from all of these different sources. We want to be able to be self-sustaining in every way so that we can actually drive relevance, drive forward based on relevance and the things that we're actually doing to help manufacturing here in the US. And so that Institute sustainability is a big part of our plans, and it really forces us to become pragmatic about not just doing and sharing the funding that we have for the sake of putting this research or these innovations out there, but ensuring that we're aligned with what you need and what's truly going to transform U.S. manufacturing. This is more than you can comprehend, more than I can share in the few minutes I have here, but this is at least most of the things that CESMII is doing here that are relevant to you as our manufacturing community. You will receive these slides if you fill out a feedback form at the end of the day, and I would truly encourage you to see for yourself what these capabilities are and which ones are relevant to you. I just want to call out a few together with our friends. Together with our friends here from Europe, we've got a massive and a growing library of manufacturing, standards-based manufacturing profiles, smart manufacturing profiles. Close to 200 now. I think this number is outdated. We have access to, genuine access to a production-ready smart manufacturing interoperability platform that members of this community are bringing to us, including the ones I've highlighted here, ThinkIQ, Kepware, Azure, AWS, and many application vendors that are able to provide their capabilities to our members for free to pilot, to create a proof of concept for you in this space. One of the really cool things that we are essentially launching here is this thing you see at the bottom, a free OEE app. Who gives away something as interesting and compelling as an OEE application for free? We have this thing called an interoperability platform. We wanted to begin inspiring a development community to actually build applications that are abstracted from the actual data collection, contextualization infrastructure based on an open API. And so we have a brand new OEE application for the marketplace that we hope will inspire a massive community around the world building similar apps or a diverse set of manufacturing applications against open specifications. A 30-day free trial, again, member-led. We're here advocating for those of our partners that are engaging with us around these things, these strategic areas of openness, interoperability, and collaborative approach to smart manufacturing. So we want to shine the spotlight on those, and that's what we're doing here with some of these activities, a 30-day free trial to connect machine tools. You saw, if you went on the MDFT tour yesterday, you saw several CNC machines connected to our SMIP, the interoperability platform. That was those are traditional. Those are the kind that you probably have all over your shop floor. It took literally minutes, less than an hour, to connect those machine tools to the SMIP. The actual on-time edge device is a $99 device from Amazon.com. Connects to the machine tool. The device literally creates an instance of a CNC profile in the SMIP and begins ingesting data automatically, and then is available for a whole host of applications on top. A very, very powerful representation of all of these concepts coming together. And then last but not least, a growing set of smart manufacturing starter kits embodying all these capabilities available for manufacturers to deploy, and particularly whether you're large or small, but this is a kit in a box, a constrained set of capabilities, turnkey set of capabilities, specifically to help small, medium manufacturers in a way that hopefully they can trust and that they can bring smart manufacturing into their environments for the first time. With that, I'm going to invite my colleagues here. Let's have Haresh, Conrad, and Howard join me on the stage here for their perspective.
Check. Okay, so we've had practice to tap dance, and we'll do it again. I'm going to cover, so one of the pillars that John was showing was around the DOE Renewal Award, which has really two parts, the technology side and the education side. I'll cover the technology side. Conrad will cover the education side. John showed one slide that says we are moving over from develop and demonstrate to scale and deploy. Just want to put up this slide to just explain to you what we mean at CESMII when we say scale and deploy, right? So one is that you can replicate existing solutions to multiple factories, multiple locations, right? From one factory to another. That's one kind of scaling, right? An example might be the work we've done on the cement industry. We have a complete solution. You could take that and just deploy it in multiple factories. The second type of scaling is going from a unit process step to factory to an enterprise, right? That's where some of the platform technologies come in handy when you're scaling it that way. Scaling smart manufacturing across supply chains. Again, you're not talking about a single manufacturer. You're talking about an OEM or a large manufacturer that has multiple small manufacturers that are part of the supply chain. So how do you scale across their supply chain? Third is around the functional scaling. So one of the oval diagrams that I showed you. So it's not just about getting the data and having it displayed, but then how do you complete that loop? So you could scale an SM solution with all those other functional capabilities that we talked about. scaling it across the nation. So, partnering with MEPs, partnering with our innovation centers and other local regional entities to actually scale those solutions to small manufacturers. And then the last one is ecosystem scaling. So this is where we are growing our partnerships, with technology vendors, with manufacturers, academia, machine builders, and so on. So just to set the stage as to what we mean by that. And then what I'm showing here is that we have on the left-hand side, what the work that we've done in the last 6 years is to actually do a lot of work around building those building blocks that make up smart manufacturing. And then the idea is to then take the, the building blocks then basically get to the point where you're creating these playbooks where if you need a smart manufacturing solution, you have the building blocks and the components that are made up, so you can take those. So if you focus on the center side of the slide, all that stuff forms the CESMII engine that we've created, right? Now our task is to scale and deploy, right? So we have an investment from the Department of Energy, 60 million, that includes some of the sharing that goes on with our members. But we take those investments and then develop a flywheel effect, a momentum, to actually take these SM solutions and deploy it in that scale and deploy fashion that I talked about before, right? And then eventually getting to the point where we become fully sustainable through that momentum that we develop. The centerpiece of this, something went wrong somewhere. Oops, sorry. So the renewal award that we have from the DOE, thank you DOE, consists of these 6 initiatives. And I'm going to talk about the second, third, and the fourth, which deal with technology, and then Conrad will talk about the rest of them. So the first one there is to have 2 different flavors of a new set of RFPs that will go out. One is focused on clean energy technologies and manufacturing, and the other one is focused on supply chain. So on the left-hand side is where we want to take existing solutions that we've created, work with our partners, and then do the scaling and deploying in sectors that are either focused on energy consumption, so large industries, chemicals, cement, paper, and so on, and make an impact there. And in addition to that, address some of the needs that we see, as Chris was talking earlier on, into the new energy manufacturing areas like batteries and solar. So that's the first set of RFPs. I'm going to talk about that in the afternoon in detail, so I welcome you to attend those workshops in the afternoon. The one on the right-hand side is on the scale and deploy for the supply chains. So this is where we would have one large manufacturer or an OEM that brings in, say, 8 to 10 small manufacturers that are part of their supply chain, and then work through that system to actually create solutions that impact productivity and efficiency across the supply chain. So the details will be coming out. We are hoping that we can get the RFP out soon here in the next few weeks. But you'll see some of the details in here. And if you have any specific questions that I can just answer without crossing the boundaries, I'll be happy to do that. In order for us to do what we just said, we also have to make sure that our capability within our platform technologies is mature and automated enough for people to use, right? So this is around developing the specifications and documentation for our platform so that other technology vendors can participate in the process. The second is around capability enhancements. So one example might be that you need certain capabilities for data sharing in the supply chain projects. That becomes part of a development that we need to do. Self-service automation of integration. So all of the pieces that make up the smart manufacturing innovation interoperability platform ecosystem have to be able to work together in a seamless fashion. So that's around the self-service automation. And lastly, developing the playbooks for each of these industry sectors and solutions that we've created so that if you're a manufacturer in the same space, you can actually look at these playbooks and say, yeah, this is how I can implement smart manufacturing in my location or in my industry. And the last piece here is that, you can't have a presentation these days without talking about AI. So if I can get this to work. Okay. So there are two pieces of this that are important. One is, I think John used the word data engineering. So if you look at the left-hand side of this picture, you can see that when you talk about contextualization, this is where it's an important piece of the AI equation, that if you don't have the data in the right flavor and the right construct, the AI tools are not going to work well, right? So that's where one of the focus areas for us is having AI-ready data. And the other is the piece around modeling and analytics, but that makes up the foundation for entry into the AI world. So we actually have about 26 projects that we've already done that have used machine learning and predictive modeling. So we are already set up to actually have that connection back into the AI world. So with that, I will hand it over to, oops. I did forget. Yeah. Yeah. So if you go to take that. There's a QR code on the back of your badge, and if you go to that, there should be a question that will come up. Pick the session that's called Vision, and you should see this question come up. And I would welcome you to just put in your responses there. In the meantime, you can.
Okay, so we see that we have strong agreement. Of course, we're here in our ecosystem, so that's nice validation for me. Okay. So Haresh talked about how the building blocks and the playbooks, right, are the building blocks that we're feeding our scale and deploy strategy. So what does that look like in education? Right? It looks like this, right? The technologies, tools, the other resources we're developing, and how we are equipping and training the ecosystem to do this. Because there's a journey for the manufacturer from awareness to education to implementation. Along that journey, they get more comfortable and they feel ready to engage in these projects. And part of that, in addition to all the education, from informal education that we do through the roadshow, through the workshop, half-day workshops like we did yesterday, or the full-day workshop, to our formal training catalog, along that journey, they're going to be ready to engage with strategic road mapping. And we talked about that this morning. There's a session this afternoon. But all of these tools are making us ready to have more success in these implementation projects. Here's an example of how we're gearing up in CESMII 2.0 to leverage the resources we have developed, right? So we have this project here, the Instructor Academy at Texas A&M, and it's using all the curriculum guidance, the micro-credentials that have been developed, the hardware and software resources that we have developed are all getting folded into this instructor program so that instructors come, community college instructors come and leave with curriculum all ready to execute with the smart manufacturing learning system, and they can get that program started at their colleges right away. So we are just getting started with these kind of initiatives, but we already have many instructors trained. But what I want to point out is how this is a scaling strategy, because this hub and spoke model that we have with a university being the hub and the community colleges being the spokes is a model that we intend to keep duplicating in the country in different regions. We already have other regions lining up for this, and go beyond the colleges. Also, we're tapping into the MEP network to also be trainers. So this is our scaling strategy in education, all around structured micro-credentials and instructor academies. Here, hand it over to Howard.
So as you heard before, CESMII has been funded initially and with renewal through the Department of Energy, which we're grateful for. A key part of our sustainability plan, our financial growth plan, is to find diversify funds outside the DOE funding. John talked about some of it, or a key part of it, with the commercialization of CESMII's offerings. Another part of it, another leg of it, is going after other grant funding, but doing so not so much as an opportunistic fashion, but very strategic, both with our members and our partners like the SMICs, to target grants that help build out our R&D portfolio, help set the stage for commercialization, supplement and synergize with our DOE funding. So this is an initiative we've done before. We're growing it now with UCLA investments and doing a very strategic focused format with our partners to go after some grants and funding. So right now, these are the awarded grants and contracts that we have in hand. There's over $5 million of these. First and foremost, the DOE, the DOE group that funds us is Energy Efficiency, Renewable Energy, or EERE. They also gave us some additional funds to do some supplemental EWD, so we thank them for that as well as part of the renewal package. But also they introduced us to their sister division, Manufacturing Energy Supply Chains, MESC, because MESC needed a smart manufacturing advisor consultant for the awardees at the state level programs where they're evangelizing smart manufacturing through small and mid-sized manufacturers at the state level. So CESMII plays a role in guiding and consulting with that under a subcontract. And then we also have several other grants and awards through NIST, CESMII, a sister institute. So you see diversification of funds, but they all feed our strategic roadmap and growing CESMII as a portfolio investment. We also have to have things in the pipeline as well as what we have in hand. So as Chris Saldana mentioned, there's a new AI institute being stood up through NIST. There's also another institute being stood up, Digital Twin for Semiconductor. CESMII is engaged in supporting multiple project teams on that front because they're technology adjacent to what we do. They leverage the platform, the smart manufacturing technology. And similarly, we're going after other grants and awards that are in the FOA phase right now. So we're very excited about this effort, synergize what we're doing, looking to partner with our members and our ecosystem to go after these grants and share in the awards. Thank you. So is this another slider? Okay. Yep. So if you do the QR code and please. I want your feedback. Back and forth here. It's like a horse race. I think we're seeing maybe they're all equally important, which is good. There's no one size fits all solution. We're good. Thank you. So next, take my ecosystem partner, Craig Dory, one of our SMIC directors on stage. I'll grab a mic and yeah. Would you stand outside?
Thanks, Howard.
So talked a lot about CESMII 1.0. Now we're into CESMII 2.0. I talked about the ecosystem accomplishments in 1.0. In 2.0, we're growing what we built in 1.0. And it's really a network of networks because, as I mentioned before, we have to cut across all manufacturing, all industries, all size companies, and all geographies. So really, there's no one-size-fits-all approach or conduit. So when you really need this network of networks and to have each element cross-work with the other elements, it's not just working in silos. So a key part of it is, as Conrad mentioned, is the CESMII endorsed partnered and certified professionals. They become extensions of CESMII. The MEPs and government agencies, we'll talk about that a little bit in a few minutes after this session. But we want to grow and leverage that to provide conduits into small to mid-sized manufacturers to help meet them where they're at, bring them into smart manufacturing. And another key part we want to build and expand upon is the smart manufacturing innovation centers. As I mentioned, in CESMII 1.0, we grew them to 7 centers. In CESMII 2.0, we have the 7 centers. Some of them are directly funded by the DOE in the renewal phase. They'll be focused with us on the renewal phase, and Craig will talk about that in a minute. Others, we're exploring a new self-funding model where they still help CESMII engage the outside market to more of a self-funding model that we're exploring with them. So we want to kind of leverage, build upon what we built before and grow it and expand it to create this network of networks. So, what I'd like to ask Craig is, what do you see as what's different for the SMICs in CESMII 2.0 versus 1.0?
Well, I think that you've done a great job of telling us all about how the innovation centers are outposts for smart manufacturing to help the scale and deploy program that we're developing for CESMII 2.0. Our first, oh, I'm sorry, right here? I got it. So I think that the first 2 things that we're focused on for CESMII 2.0 is to leverage what we've developed in CESMII 1.0. At RPI, we have more than 40 connected and integrated assets, with the CESMII innovation platform. And we want to leverage that to help do 2 primary things. First is work with the supply chain projects to help educate the small medium manufacturers that are going to participate in these projects to help them understand how to do data modeling, integrate profiles, and take advantage of the smart manufacturing marketplace, and then also help them with education on basic smart manufacturing technologies and systems, and develop that program of capabilities in their organizations. And then secondly, continue our engagement with MEPs and small manufacturers throughout our respective regions, providing an acceleration roadmap framework, and we'll talk about that in a second, and leveraging our infrastructure to help continue that education and continue that outreach for each of those small manufacturers that we're able to engage with, and with the manufacturing extension partnerships that help us engage with those small manufacturers. And
so, oops, sorry. So one of the reasons why I wanted Craig on stage, well, one, he's the OG SMIC director. You were a SMIC director before I was even involved, and you helped negotiate the concept of a SMIC. They're called Regional Manufacturing Centers way back when with the DOE, because this was a new concept for the DOE way back when. So you've kind of been wearing that SMIC cap for a long time. But as I mentioned in the beginning, we need this network of networks to cross-cut and people be wearing multiple hats. So in addition to the SMIC director hat, you're now wearing this certified professional hat. So maybe you can tell us how those 2 worlds come together and the good stuff you do with that.
Yeah, we're working with several companies right now, but I wanted to highlight 3. You've probably heard about Bevan Bell's. Bevan Bell's, if you remember the movie It's a Wonderful Life, the bell at the end when Clarence gets his wings was a Bevan Bell. So they manufacture 2 distinct product lines. One is stamped bells, and the other is pressure cylinders. They don't really relate, but that's what they manufacture. And their goal is to really expand their sales channels and leverage real-time data and their continuous improvement culture to really develop profitable growth in operations. They've had great success so far. We worked with a roadmap to develop that plan for them, and they have CC Bevan participated in one of our member calls and had a great talk about what they've been able to accomplish so far. And I'll let her speak for herself. Please go watch that presentation that she gave. 2 more companies, and we're working with MEPs on these 2 companies. With Gemline, we're working with Mass MEP in Massachusetts, and with Murdoch Webbing, we're working with Polaris in Rhode Island. Polaris is here at the conference, but I don't think they're actually able to attend this. Look for Matt Watson and Kayla to ask any questions of. Gemline is a larger media manufacturer doing promotional materials, logoed and branded promotional materials. Murdoch Webbing creates webbing everywhere from your dog collars to arresting cables on aircraft carriers. So each one of these companies is interested in specific business goals. Gemline in profitable growth, they want to double their business in over 5 years and increase their margin every year over year, and Murdoch Webbing wants to improve their operational predictability. So we're working with them. We're at different stages with these two companies. Gemline, we have a road mapping workshop next week, and in 2 weeks we have a mid-course report with the Murdoch folks. So the focus here is that we're working with MEPs to help affect these road mapping programs with small, medium companies. And then the MEPs are actually taking over going forward, because both Mass MEP and Polaris are, Mass MEP folks have already been certified, and Polaris they're planning to certify with the next cohort in early January as road mapping professionals.
That's great, Craig. It really exemplifies it takes a village to get SM adoption to occur at a national level. It's not by accident we're mentioning MEPs several times here. And with that, this sets the stage for John Dyke, our CEO, and Jyoti from NIST MEP headquarters. So welcome them on stage. Sure.
Perfect. Well, you've heard a fair bit of talk in the last few minutes about the small, medium manufacturing community, and we've tried to be intentional about that. We work well with a lot of the large Fortune 1000 manufacturing companies, a lot of the great vendors and technology providers in this space. But one of the mandates that we have is to ensure that we focus on not just supporting those for whom smart manufacturing is accessible, but to ensure that in developing those strategies, we actually do so in a way that's going to help the small, medium manufacturing community. So we've been super intentional. The very words of our vision statement to accelerate the democratization of smart manufacturing, that's what drives us to ensure we reduce the cost and complexity and create accessibility for all manufacturers. So it's a huge thrill for me to have Jyoti on the screen with me. I'll ask her to introduce herself in a moment, but collectively, we're here today to announce a public memorandum of understanding between the NIST MEP National Network and CESMII to bring these awesome and vital capabilities to the U.S. manufacturing marketplace. So with that, I'll ask you, Jyoti, to introduce yourself and ask you to describe your vision, the strategy, priorities for the National MEP Network and with CESMII and other manufacturing USA institutes.
Thank you, John. Good morning, good morning. I know I'm between you and your coffee break, but we have something important to share with you. So hang in there, be with us today. Before I start, can the MEP centers who are in the attendance please stand? I know we have Texas MEP, yeah, there you go, Florida MEP, Utah, and Virginia MEP, I see. Thank you
Georgia,
so much.
yeah.
There you go,
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. you all who are present here get that big picture of US manufacturing. My name is Jyoti Malhotra. I'm the Division Chief for National Programs with NEST MEP. MEP is Manufacturing Extension Partnership. I also want to give huge kudos to John, you and team. I learned so much during yesterday and today. You made me a little bit more smarter, so thank you. Thank you for that. And Howard, Harish, and team, thank you for the opportunity and giving us this stage today. I want to know how many of you are large manufacturers? Just want to. All right. You have unique responsibility on your shoulder, and that is to bring along the small, medium-sized manufacturers with you, help them integrate with that supply chain and get up the value chain. So really have that partnership with your small manufacturers. Going back to your question, John, vision, so the network, Howard, you talk about network of networks. Manufacturing USA network and the network of MEP centers, 51 MEP centers, we have the common vision, the shared goal, and that is to strengthen US manufacturing. I want to paint a manufacturing canvas for you. US Bureau of Economic Analysis states that last Q2 of 2024, about $3 trillion were contributed to our economy by manufacturing sectors. And you know, market reports say that, not me, but the market reports say that by 2034, we would need about 4 million manufacturing jobs to be filled. How we cannot do it alone. I'm just, we cannot do it alone. It's very important that Manufacturing USA Institute, CESMII, you're sending such a great example for other institutes to work closely with MEP centers. And I really appreciate MEP centers reciprocating that and responding to that. So the vision is all about US manufacturing, right? Chris from DOE shared that. I was not surprised. Were you surprised? Where he showed the international and the global competition and where we stand. We need to change that. And the way we change that is when we work together and we find that more collaborative opportunities for us. And end user, who is our end user? American people, the greater good, the public. When it comes to strategy, I think, again, network of networks, understanding that we are here together, everything gets made, everything gets manufactured. How can we help our local, regional companies and then state and then nationwide opportunities? You talk about priorities, John. Before I answer that, I want to share with you, I worked for small manufacturers for about 2 decades before I came to government, serving NEST MEP. And you know what I learned? I was in very rural part of the Midwest for last 25 years. And I learned that if that small manufacturer in that community doesn't make it, that community doesn't thrive. So manufacturing goes beyond economic growth. It's about communities development. It's about national security. It's about strengthening our, American workforce. So the priorities to me is definitely bold, underline, small, medium-sized manufacturers. I was so happy and thrilled to see, John, that in the slides that your team presented, you had supply chain, and then you said, you want OEMs to partner with their small manufacturers. Chris from DOE mentioned about 9 market segments for critical supply chain resiliency. So the priorities are supply chain resiliency, workforce development, and truly getting that smart, not just smart manufacturing technologies, but building smart manufacturing infrastructure. And that's what we can do together, cannot do it alone.
Outstanding. Wow, that's a great overview. And we only have a couple of minutes, but I'd love for you to talk about what success looks like. We've announced this partnership today, this plan to go and align our resources to focus very strategically for the benefit of small, medium manufacturers. What does success look like for our partnership?
Thank you, John. If you're aware of ITIF, it's the Information Technology Innovation Foundation. They often produce good research findings, not endorsing them, but I do read a lot of market research reports. You know what was startling to me? I read one statistics that from 2010 to 2021, large manufacturers, that is employees, 500 employees or more, they grew by 14% over that decade. But you know, small manufacturers, they fell by 8%. We need to change that. So to me, the success looks like how do we enhancing the productivity for small and medium-sized manufacturers? Harish, you mentioned large manufacturers, they have their tier 1, 2, 3, 4 suppliers. Those are small manufacturers. How are we helping them integrate these small manufacturing technologies and the technology adoption? Showing the productivity, showing the decarbonization, or showing the energy efficiency, profitability, and also how many in terms of the national lens. When we talk about the national strategy for advanced manufacturing, how many small manufacturers were able to move that needle for the 9 market segments that Chris mentioned earlier? I think that's how. So partnerships truly not transactional, but truly where you are finding the scope that we can work together for small manufacturers. I think that's the key. That's the key.
Thank you, Jody. That's super inspiring from my standpoint. I know we're pretty much out of time, but I want to describe very briefly, and perhaps you can comment on the notion of this partnership. We see 50 great MEP organizations across 50 states plus Puerto Rico. The CESMII Institute has worked to create resources that we believe will benefit that community. And the memo of understanding this partnership is about aligning these MEP organizations, the great work that's been done at CESMII here and at other Manufacturing USA institutes, and try to drive those into the marketplace in a very practical, real, and tangible way. Is that a fair summary?
Oh, definitely, definitely. So I'm very humble pride because of the MEP centers here. We are deeply engaged with you. We are committed to this partnership with you, John, and also with MXT and CESMII, with whom we signed the MOUs and implementing those. This MOU is just one critical step to make sure we make that difference for the US manufacturing ecosystem. I'd like to share with you, again, from the small manufacturing world. Each of us have a responsibility to amplify one message for small manufacturers, and that is smart manufacturing is a journey. It's going to take efforts and understanding how we are investing today, what's the ROI for that manufacturer down the road. So tech transfer, technology readiness to manufacturing readiness, those are all journeys, and you and us working together, implementing these MOUs, us tapping on to your educational resources, you tapping on to MEP's small manufacturing network. That's the true partnership there.
Awesome. How about a round of applause? Thank you very much. So I'll ask Jonathan Wise to join me on the stage. You've probably heard from him or of him. Jonathan, take a moment to introduce yourself, grab a seat, and we'll have a conversation here.
I'm Jonathan Wise. I'm the Chief Technology Architect at CESMII. I've been with CESMII close to 6 years, coming up on 6 years, focused on the technology side of things.
So one of the things that we focused on for most of the time that you and I have been here and that the rest of the team has been here has been a growing focus and a growing sense of urgency on how important interoperability is for us to truly drive the democratization of smart manufacturing, that we will reduce cost and complexity, that we can address 3 decades of sort of data silos and stovepipe architectures if we can accomplish this thing called interoperability. But that kind of takes a village too, doesn't it? And yeah. So we've been working on this with this community. I'd love for you, Jonathan, to talk about this initiative that we've kicked off in 2024. We talk about an RFC, we talk about an API proposal. Talk to us about why we're doing this.
For most of the past 5+ years, the focus of interoperability has been on a way to agree on the structure of data. We call that the smart manufacturing profile. If you've heard me talk, I'm sure you've heard me say that phrase a billion times. It was the most important core concept, and it took maybe a little longer than I hoped to land it, but I think we now have fairly global consensus on a data template and a format for that data template. That's only the first mile. The profile gives us the structure of the data, but not the mechanism by which to access the data. That is still specific to the software that holds the data. What we have begun working on, first in small circles with CESMII members, and then kind of in growing rings of influence, is the notion that we need a common API or application programmers interface to get at that data. So now that we know the structure of it, is there a consistent way to get at it, regardless of which platform you choose? The kind of core goal here that's maybe implicit but should be made explicit is we have had one smart manufacturing platform that we have tested our ideas against. In order to democratize this, we need many smart manufacturing platforms. Democratization means choice. It means more than just one, ideally more than 2, but that is the next step. So a common API would allow platform choice while keeping a consistent way to get access to consistent data.
Awesome. And so just to double click briefly on this notion of ingesting profiles and then exposing that structured content to an application is at its core, what being a smart manufacturing interoperability platform is all about, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this is the next building block that we need to accomplish.
Yeah. So we've had one great interoperability platform partner with ThinkIQ, and I'm thrilled to share that there are 2 additional partners of ours, both Symphony AI as well as HiByte, that are working with us to also become compliant as a smart manufacturing interoperability platform. But back to the conversation here. I think you mentioned the thing RFC, request for comment. What is that, and why are we choosing that approach to bring this API to life?
Yeah, the RFC approach has some really cool history. So as we've discussed, we're administered out of UCLA. Some of the very first RFCs for the definition of the modern internet came out of UCLA. The RFC process stands for request for comment, and it is an open and democratic process for gathering consensus on how to solve a technical problem. There are hundreds of RFCs that make up how email works, how a web browser works, how file transfer works, how web security works. We are not a part of those internet standards bodies that have evolved since the 60s, but we wanted to follow kind of that pattern of not declaring that something has to be a certain way, but inviting our expert community to help us shape how that thing should be. So we took this request for comment approach, starting with a small ring and increasing kind of the surface area of experts that we gathered input from. And as of this week, have made the RFC public on CESMII's GitHub page.
So you're hearing here about, for the first time, about a public launch, a public, I guess, draft of this RFC, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But perhaps better helping us better understand what it means for a manufacturing platform vendor, and then we'll start there. What does it mean for a manufacturing platform vendor?
This is a big ask, maybe as big as asking to support profiles. Supporting profiles should be non-negotiable. We need an open format for defining what data looks like globally so that we can interchange that data. That took a few years. This is also going to be a journey. We benefited from the work that the OPC Foundation had done on Part 5 of the Unified Architecture Specification that gave us profiles. We benefit in this case from a number of platforms that are candidates for this that have existing APIs. We assembled a team that had expertise with Rockwell software, with PTC software, with both OPC and MQTT approaches to data access. We looked at APIs from many other vendors. And we tried to distill what was a common set of what we call primitives, base functionality that was available in platforms that we felt could meet this bar, and tried to generalize that functionality in a way that allowed all of them to participate. The flip side of that is we didn't elevate any one vendor's API and said, this should be the API. We tried to generalize to what all of them were capable of doing. That means nobody is compliant with this proposed API. Nobody has it yet. Many people are capable of it, but this is a really hard ask. Would you consider refactoring your API so that there is a common interface that would allow applications to be portable across these platforms? There's a couple ways to accomplish that. I think no one's going to throw out their existing API. They have their own proprietary ecosystems that depend on that API, and some of them are very good. Some of the software we looked at did not have an API, but should. For those, it's an easier ask. We're asking you to join the 20th century and have an API, and we're suggesting this is how it might look. For those that were already there, you might consider a compatibility layer or an adapter that would allow this standard API to interact with your existing API so that applications could be portable. This isn't as hard as it sounds. At our session this afternoon that we informally called Demo Fest, we will show a simple smart manufacturing application running against multiple platforms where we have on their behalf adapted their APIs to this proposed standard. So this is doable. It's a big ask. It's going to be a journey, and we expect feedback. We expect platform vendors to say you're missing something, or we don't like the way that this has worked, and we want that learning. We want to evolve together as an ecosystem that supports not just the interoperability of data, but the interoperability of applications that use that data.
So every one of these logos, these companies that you see on the screen behind us, represents an organization, a technology provider that is partnering with us in some way to bring this vision to life. This is something we're super proud of. This speaks to the manufacturers in this room that are advocating, and in this community that are advocating for these ideas. This speaks to these organizations being willing to collaborate, being willing to accept that these legacy, data siloed, stovepiped approaches to building applications is no longer sufficient. So talk about portable applications, talk about what this means for what we hope will inspire a whole new application development community in this space.
Yeah, the analogy is really obvious. Every one of you has a phone here. Some of you have two phones. And your phones benefit from a marketplace or app store of apps that work across a wide array of hardware. If it's Android, it's a really wide array of hardware. If it's Apple, it's a smaller array. But those applications are portable between those devices because they can count on standard APIs being available in the platform that they have targeted. In our space, with so many platform vendors, we will never get to that proliferation of apps. We will never have that level of choice because apps need to be made for one of the many, many platforms that we have to choose from. In order to break that, we need a compatibility layer. We need some common functionality that all of the platform vendors can agree to make available so that we can get to a proliferation of apps. Not every app is going to be great. I was responsible for technology evangelism in some early days of app stores, and there were hundreds of apps nobody should ever use. But that kind of creative ecosystem where through user engagement, through kind of market choice, the good ones kind of surfaced. The platform vendors have certainly benefited. Apple and Google are doing very well on their app stores, but so have the application vendors, and especially so have the users by having this choice available to them.
Awesome. So Jonathan, we've had talk very briefly about the three rings we've gone through so far and about what we're asking for here today.
Yeah, the first ring was platform implementers. So I mentioned some of those platforms, people who have actually built or worked directly on some of the key platforms in our space. We convened a small group this summer and looked across kind of the industry to identify those primitives. I took those findings back and wrote them down in the initial draft, and those individuals went back to their companies, all CESMII members, and shared them internally to tighten it up. We then went to a second larger ring of platform implementers and integrators who weren't present in the initial small group and got their feedback, which significantly helped improve kind of the state of the RFC. And then finally, we expanded to CESMII members, largely who are manufacturers, many of them on the executive council or their technical delegates on the executive council, to gather their feedback as well. And then the final ring here is the public GitHub launch.
So we've progressively built that feedback into the API specification.
Yeah, with every ring, the RFC got better. We're not claiming it's perfect, but we definitely benefited from the input we've gotten so far.
Outstanding. So whether you're an application developer or a platform developer, you need to be part of this conversation. You need to help shape this. And we're urging through the executive council.
Or if you're a technical individual at a manufacturer who has input on what you would like your application vendors to be able to do, please chime in as well.
We would urge all of the manufacturers, and this is part of our messaging to the manufacturing community in this country and around the world, ask for these capabilities. When you are in the marketplace looking for a platform, looking for an application, do you want another data silo? Do you want another stovepipe architecture in your plant? Whether you're a small manufacturer and you can afford one, or whether you're a large manufacturer, you need to build a future-proof architecture for your technology investments that embodies these capabilities. And so you as the manufacturers have the right to ask for these capabilities going forward. It's a journey. We anticipate in 2025 that between platform vendors and application providers, we will have roughly 20 to 25 additional new vendors in our marketplace embodying these capabilities. So with that, Jonathan, thank you. And hopefully you've seen this here and we'll be aggressive in providing input. Thanks.
Awesome. Fantastic. So hopefully you've all had a chance to absorb the amazing progress we've made with CESMII 1.0. You have a better understanding of our vision and our strategies for CESMII 2.0. We're going to take a break and come back at 10:50. And after that, we're going to have a chance to talk about the perspective of a new era for manufacturing. Thank you.